take note of what the clothes look like so maybe we can figure out who that is later. This is cut back and forth between the bulls attacking. We see that they are host bulls, that they are attacking what looks like the regular Delos staff inside the host development center. We see that they're basically running down these guys and they're shooting at the bulls, but it's probably not doing much good. We have a shot of Bernard / Arnold walking, and it looks like Stubbs is with him. This is probably cut from the same thing that we saw in the first teaser when they were riding in like the dune buggy. They're assessing something, and it's the people who are left, I guess, from the security detail of Delos Incorporated. We see what looks like Bernard looking down on the water from above, and I'm guessing that these are all dead animals that are inside it. I say this because of the first teaser where we saw him standing next to a dead tiger. This could be in that same sequence, but it's not sure. Then we get one of the most interesting shots of the teaser trailer for me, which is Peter Abernathy's character. He's strapped to a chair and there are people restraining him. And what's so interesting about this to me is that he was in cold storage, and you remember that he was going to be the vessel for the information that they wanted to get out of the park. Lee Sizemore was going to make him a passable host with a bunch of data on his hard drive, I guess you could say. And now we see him looking like he is being detained, and we can speculate quite a bit about what's going on there. We have a quick shot of a Civil War looking bunch of guys there, which should be related to the Wyatt storyline. And then we get another one of the big interesting clips, which is Bernard looking at something and a faceless host sneaking up behind him looking like he was going to attack. There's also a quick blast of what looks like Teddy being approached from behind with someone's hand over his mouth. And then we get our first shot of Logan, who looks like he's gone outside of the park. He's at a party, he's dressed up, looks like he's with a lot of important people here. And this kind of hints that we might see how the transition of the park from Dr. Ford to Delos goes down, which would be interesting to learn more about that backstory. I mean, we know Jimmy Simpson is supposed to be back. We know Logan's back, obviously. So that could be a good side story there, is what they did outside in the world. It gives us a little more idea of where this whole Westworld thing came from and where those guys come from whenever they come to visit the park. A couple of short present day Man in Black clips there. He looks a little concerned, Ed Harris does. We see more action going on by where the hosts are produced, and we see Clementine standing there with her hand up against the window, watching it all go down. The Bulls appear to be winning, as you would expect they would. The staff looks to be getting overwhelmed and run down. And as we're bearing witness to their destruction, we see Maeve come down, and it's just a super awesome shot. The glass is breaking in slow motion. She's moving down the hallway calmly, dressed all in black, as the Bulls are wreaking havoc on the staff. Probably the best and most exciting shot of the trailer for me, because this is what we've been waiting for since last season. There's a couple shots of Wyatt's gang moving with torchlight in the nighttime. And then we see this awesome sequence that we saw in the first teaser with Dolores riding on horseback, shooting what looks to be humans who are still in the park. Now, of course, there is narration throughout, and it is Dolores' voice. She talks about how beautiful the world is. She talks about how they built the world, and now they need to destroy it, more or less, because humans have made it into their world, and it's not supposed to be that way. This sets the tone. We saw this in the first teaser, but we see that there really is a concerted effort led by Dolores to attack humans, and we see that Maeve is moving through the center, neutralizing the staff who work there. The aftermath of Dr. Ford's going away party is there. We see there are plenty of corpses laying around, although it doesn't show anybody directly, so we figure that there's probably no one that we would have expected to be a main character laying in that pile of bodies. We do see the wolf go by, which we've seen quite a bit in the first season. After that, there's a shot of Dolores walking with Bernard, and she does not look like Dolores. She's dressed in what looks to be modern clothing. This could be her impersonating someone who is on the Delos staff. It could be an indication that she was going to leave the park, but I don't think that's the case based on everything else we've seen in this. But it is interesting to see that she's not wearing her normal Dolores gear. Maeve and Hector are standing outside somewhere, and we see her either catch some snowflakes or some ashes in her hand. She's looking around. We don't really see what Hector's up to. He's just sort of in the background. And then it cuts to more host on human violence at the center. Some guys here, hosts for sure, with some interesting masks on their face. They're sort of like black things. I thought this may have been something to do with the Man in Black, but after we see the continuation of Bernard being attacked by this faceless host and thrown into something, some kind of machine that's used for building the hosts, we get a real good close-up of Dolores, and she seems to be surrounded by these guys with the hoods on their faces again. And that is where the trailer ends. Just a ton of stuff in that little 1 minute and 39 second run. Most of it's new. I did read before this came out that some of it is exclusive to this trailer, as in this isn't footage from season 2. What would be that? I have no idea.